I know that the negotiations have just started, but do you have already an idea, or are you confident that it will be can be concluded by mid-August, as it's the plan?
Okay, this gives me the opportunity to make an update of the situation. So progress is continuing to being made towards a support program for Greece under the European Stability Mechanism. And our teams arrived on Sunday in Athens, and the Commission's mission chief is leading the talks there since yesterday. Talks are ongoing as we speak, and work should continue so as to progress and conclude as swiftly as possible. The cooperation with the Greek authorities works smoothly. As to any possible dates for the conclusion, well, there is no fixed deadline, as you know. The institutions are working hard to conclude the talks as swiftly as possible. If everyone sticks to the Euro Summit statement of the 13th of July, an agreement by the second fortnight of August, as Commissioner Moscovici indicated previously, is possible, so that relevant national procedures can then be completed swiftly, and the ECB payment that is due to on the 20th of August can be disbursed from the ESM program. Yes, follow up.
You know, yesterday you said the Greek government would have to, or the Greece would have to pass additional prior actions before an initial disbursement of aid under the planned ESM program could take place. Can you offer any information on what additional prior actions would there need to be for that to take place? Thank you.
What I said yesterday exactly is that more reforms are expected as part of the statement on the 13th of July from the Greek authorities in order to allow for a swift disbursement under the ESM. And this is also what is being discussed right now. I mean, talks only started yesterday, so I think it is premature to specify any actions or deadlines. Continuing the pace of reforms will, in any case, help reinforcing the trust between all parties. Yes, Peter.
Is that working? There we go. Two related questions. The former finance minister, Yanis Varoufakis, has been talking in various forums about access to the General Secretariat of Revenues in the Greek Finance Ministry. And in this tape that was released yesterday, he claims that the Troika in Brussels controls that tax agency within the Greek Finance Ministry, and the Greek Finance Ministry does not. I wonder if you could address that, if that is actually true, whether the Troika and or Brussels controls that agency within the Greek Finance Ministry. And then the second question, well, maybe I'll follow up, but the second question is, the German Finance Ministry has been arguing that there is no debt relief or write-downs allowed in the Eurozone, and it can only be if Greece leaves the Euro could they have significant write-downs in debt. There seems to be some dispute about whether that is a proper interpretation of the treaties. As the guardian of the treaties, I wonder if the Commission has taken a view of whether that legal interpretation is correct. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for this. So let me start with the first question on what Mr. Varoufakis has been saying. Well, the allegations that the Troika was controlling the Secretary General for Public Revenues are false and unfounded. The Secretary General for Public Revenues is a quasi-independent entity responsible for tax administration that is formally part of the Ministry of Finance. The Commission and the IMF only provide technical assistance to the tax administration, but certainly do not control the Secretary General for Public Revenues. Moreover, on IT issues, what you should know is that it is the IT department of the Ministry of Finance that provides services to the Secretary General of Public Revenues. Alleging that the Troika would be controlling the Secretary General for Public Revenues is simply not true. we, as I explained, we are providing only technical assistance. We have been providing technical assistance. As to your other question with regards to debt relief, I think that the Eurozone summit statement is actually very clear. Because it states clearly on page 6 that these measures, referring to debt measures, will be conditional upon full implementation of the measures to be agreed in a possible new program and will be considered after the first positive completion of a review. It's thus therefore clear that future debt measures are not up for negotiation right now. This does not, of course, preclude discussions on debt sustainability to form part of the ongoing talks. However, of course, against this very political, at the highest level, agreed framework and time frame that you find in the Eurozone summit statement. And as you're well aware, also the European Commission is not a creditor to Greece. It would therefore be to Eurozone countries to take any decisions with regards to that. If you're now looking into treaty articles, we can have a discussion afterwards, maybe. Okay. Bruno.
Sorry about that. I guess without going to the specifics which you've just clarified on who was actually running this secretariat, given the institution's relationship with Greek ministries and this secretariat, would it have been possible for Greece to set up a parallel currency system, an IOU system, as was being discussed in the ECB, for example? Would it have been possible for them to do that without the institutions knowing about it? I mean, that really seems to be what Varoufakis is saying. And again, I want to come back on the debt question. We know that forms of debt relief are to be considered. They were considered in 2012 in terms of deferred interest rates and longer maturities, not in terms of actually writing off or writing down the nominal value of debts. And the German finance ministry seems to be arguing that if you wrote of debts, it would be in breach of the treaty going back to Maastricht's so-called non-bailout clause. Does the Commission share that view that writing off the nominal value of debts would amount to a breach of the Maastricht Treaty?
Okay, on the first question, I don't think that the Commission will now engage into looking into any conspiracy plans. What matters for the Commission is not looking into the past, but preparing the future, and we focus all our attention and energy on the ongoing talks and not what hypothetically would have been the case. So I hope you understand that. With regards to the Maastricht Treaty interpretation, I think that it is not a matter here to speculate in the press room. I'm happy to go through you to Article 125 of the Treaty on the Functioning of the European Union afterwards. For now, we're not discussing any debt measures. I recalled what the Eurozone Summit statement says on the matter, so once we get there, we can, of course, also discuss this in the press room, but we're not now engaging into any speculation. Yes, please.
Well, I'll leave the treaty out of it, but coming back to it a different way, do you think it's wrong for any country in the Eurozone to look at options, to explore options to introduce new payment systems? Is that a breach of trust for your Eurozone member to examine setting up its own payment system?
To my knowledge, last time I checked, we are paying in the Eurozone still with the euro. That applies also to Greece. So therefore, everything else would be engaging in speculation. We are in the process of rebuilding trust following the agreement that was reached at the Eurozone summit on the 12th, or rather morning hours of the 13th of July. Any other questions we can have here? Yes. First, maybe on Greece, have we finished or anything? No. Okay, fine.
Yeah, exactly. It's not on Greece. It's on the regional